This is DW News. Welcome to the show. I'm Nicole Fröhlich. Germany has announced it will send troops to Greenland for the first time, along with other European countries. It's part of measures to boost defense on the Arctic island, as U.S. President Donald Trump insists the Danish territory is essential for U.S. national security. The announcement came after Denmark's and Greenland's foreign ministers held inconclusive talks in Washington with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Danish foreign minister, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, said the two sides had agreed to create a working group to discuss ways to address American security concerns while also respecting Denmark's red lines. Here's some more of what he told reporters after the meeting.
We had what I will describe as a frank but also constructive discussion. The discussions focused on how to ensure the long-term security in Greenland. And here our perspectives continue to differ, I must say. The President has made his view clear, and we have a different position. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk.
Well, Greenland's foreign minister, Vivian Motzfeldt, doubled down and said her government simply cannot accept a U.S. takeover.
I think it's very important to say it again, that how important it is from our side to strengthen our cooperation with the United States, but that doesn't mean that we want to be owned by the United States, but as allies, how we can strengthen our cooperation, it's all our interest.
DW correspondent Janelle Dumoulin following events from Washington there for us. Janelle, we just heard from both the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland. What stood out to you at this press conference?
You know, both the foreign ministers mentioned those frank and constructive discussions, and we know what that means. Frank and constructive is diplomatic speak for we did not see eye to eye and we did not resolve our conflict. But of course, that is a sentiment that they repeated again and again in plain English throughout that press conference. The Danish foreign minister saying that they did not succeed in getting the U.S. to change its ambitions in Greenland, although he also said that was not something he expected going into the meeting in the first place, but that they did agree that it would be sensible to try and sit down together on a high level to see if there were possibilities for a way forward to accommodate the concerns of the president. Now, for her part, the foreign minister of Greenland said that she had made it clear what the limits are for Greenland and for Denmark, and those limits, of course, involve respecting the territorial integrity of both Denmark and Greenland. Now, they also reiterated their position that if the U.S. has security concerns, then that could be addressed within the existing framework. Specifically, they referred to that 1951 agreement that confirms that the U.S. has the right to establish defense areas in Greenland. They said if the U.S. wants more of a presence in Greenland because of security concerns, that is something that they can always bring to Denmark, and Denmark would review those requests. In any case, they are happy to cooperate on matters of Arctic security. The foreign minister of Greenland, Foreign Minister Motzfeldt, saying again, it's never been so important to stress we're allies and friends with a shared history, so it's in all our interest to find a balance here.
Finding a balance was the goal of today's meeting, but I think even saying agreeing to disagree is an understatement. President Trump still says the U.S. needs to get Greenland one way or another. So after what we've seen today, but also what President Trump has been publishing on social media in the run-up to this meeting, how much room really is there left for diplomacy at this point?
You know, there was another line in the presser that stood out to me. I wrote it down, and it was when Foreign Minister Rasmussen said, it's not easy to think innovatively about solutions when you wake up in the morning to different threats. And I think that really does encapsulate the diplomatic challenge that they're facing here. Washington is just a very different kind of interlocutor than it once was. And I guess that is also the reason why Minister Rasmussen wanted to appeal to the long shared history between the U.S. and Denmark, a 200 125 history. He reiterated again. He also mentioned the war in Afghanistan, saying that in support of America, the Danes saw as many casualties as America did. So although the meeting did not move the needle in terms of getting the U.S. to abandon its bid for Greenland, they really did kind of focus in on the creation of this high-level working group that is that is trying to find a way forward. That high-level working group is set to meet for the first time in a few weeks, he said. So at least on the side of Greenland and Denmark, the hopes for diplomacy are not completely dead just yet.
DW correspondent Janelle Dumoulin in Washington, D.C. Thanks, Janelle. Let's keep talking about this crisis in the Arctic and bring in DW's political correspondent Simon Young here in Berlin. Simon, Germany is now sending its first troops to Greenland. What exactly, what's the reasoning? Why exactly are they going there?
Yeah, Nicole, the Defence Ministry here in Berlin has released a statement this evening saying that Germany will be participating in a reconnaissance mission in Greenland, as it's termed, lasting from the 15th to the 17th of January, and that 13 Bundeswehr personnel are set to fly to the Greenland capital, Nuuk, on Thursday morning. And this is happening at the invitation of Denmark and in consultation with other European partners. The purpose of the mission, they say, is to explore ways to support Denmark in ensuring security in the region. And they mentioned specifically as an example of what they could be doing, maritime surveillance. So that's what this is about. Now, this comes amid signs that the German government is not against a military role for Germany in Greenland. The Defence Minister, Boris Pistorius, has been saying in recent days that he thinks that NATO, and presumably including Germany, should defend Greenland against potential attacks from Russia and China. And he emphasises, as he's talked about this several times, that that should happen with the United States, presumably rather than against them. But at the moment, that, of course, is the big question.
The debate over Greenland's future has further strained transatlantic relations in the past year. How bad is that relationship right now, and how could it be salvaged?
Well, I think you've got to say the relationship is strained right now. You can get a sense of that from a speech that was made by Lars Klingbeil, who's the Vice-Chancellor, the Deputy to Chancellor Merz. He's also the Finance Minister. He was speaking on Wednesday. He said the transatlantic relationship as we've known it is currently disintegrating, and he cited the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, which he said was a violation of the principles of international law. But he also mentioned these threats against Greenland from Donald Trump and the administration's comments in the national security strategy that it published recently that Europe was facing civilizational erasure. So he says that, you know, Europe's got to stand up for the rules-based order. It's really strong language. Of course, close contacts with Washington, between Washington and Berlin, continue. The Foreign Minister, Johann Wadephul, was in Washington meeting members of Congress just on Tuesday. But, of course, the whole context and the fact that Donald Trump has got his fingers in so many pies, as it were, that does make everything a lot more difficult right now.
Simon Young, DW's political correspondent. Thanks, Simon.